I'm holding here the new Taber Corn Berbon 101 from Bridgeland Distillery, which is a surprising new whiskey I think you need to try. This is, of course, 101 proof whiskey. I love the term proof, and I'll give you a bit of history about it later. It's pretty cool where the term came from, I think you'll want to know. But you're probably asking yourself, what the heck is Taber corn? And why is bourbon spelled wrong? I'll get to all of those things in a little bit after taste as well. But first of all, this is a new release and is a slight change to the distillery's original Taber Corn Berbon, which over the years has piled up a nice little stack of awards. For example, the Taber Corn Berbon whiskey won gold at the 2024 Canadian Whisky Awards just this year, and this Taber Corn Berbon whiskey received a judge's selection in the bourbon category at the Alberta Beverage Spirits Award as well. Taber, Alberta is known as a corn capital of Canada and is some of the most sought after corn, being the sweetest and best corn you can find. Enough talking, I'll tell you more about Bridgeland, the distillery, the mash, and everything about this later. We are looking at 50.5% here, 101 proof, so let's give it a pour. Color-wise, it's got a beautiful bright color, sort of a golden straw. Really like it. On the nose, for being such a strong whiskey at 50.5%, it's quite light. Salted caramel, some fresh wheat, maybe a bit of honeycomb. The mouthfeel is medium-bodied. Neither thin nor oily, but it does stick to the glass, so it definitely has a bit of body there. It's deep, with burnt toffee, fresh cracked black pepper, dark fruit like prunes. It gives way to like toasted oak and cereals. Really interesting how it transforms from that sweetness, a little bit spicy, dark fruits and the oak. Really nice. It finishes long and dry. A bit of nuttiness coming out now, but that toffee is still really lingering, and maybe a little bit of smoke. Being such a strong whiskey, I'm actually going to add a few drops of distilled water. All right. The water is a great idea. It really mellows it out. Instead of that burnt toffee, it's more like a creamy, buttery caramel and toffee. Those dried fruits also transform a bit. I'm not getting apricots, prunes and apricots, and that toasted cereal coming through even stronger now. Really nice sort of nuance in there. A blend of sweet and oaky. That black pepper has backed off a little bit too. Really nice. So let's talk about what went into making this. But first of all, I recently connected with the distillery to try and have a bottle of their Glenbow whiskey shipped over to me. Glenbow won a silver at the 2023 World Whiskey Awards, and Daniel at the distillery was awesome enough to add this bottle to my box. So Daniel and the folks over at Bridgeland, thank you. It's folks like you that make it possible for people like me to keep doing what I do. But you're probably wondering, why is this called Taber Corn Berbon 101 whiskey? Let me break this down for you. As most of you probably know, bourbon in the United States does not have a minimum age requirement, but it does require a mash bill of at least 51% corn, and it also must be aged in newly charred oak. Also, you can't call something a bourbon if it is not made in the United States. But based on the mash bill, which is 60% corn, 32% barley, 8% wheat, and aged in new American oak, this bottle here would be considered a bourbon-style whiskey. They just can't call it bourbon, so they got fun with how they spelled the word there. Also, here in Canada, to be considered a whiskey, it must be aged a minimum of 3 years. Bridgeland's original Taber Corn Berbon was not aged 3 years. This one was, so for this reason, when you're looking at Taber Corn Berbon, some of the labels will and will not include the term whiskey, depending on how long it's aged. This bourbon-style whiskey, being aged for 3 years, is full of flavor. But I think it drinks like a more mature whiskey. This might be in part because they lauter their grains, which is to separate the liquid from the solids so no grains are in the fermentation process. What this does is it minimizes some of the potential for unpleasant flavors to develop, which can come from the husk of a grain. So it's a really clean bourbon to start with. They also do what's known as a sweet mash, which uses new yeast instead of a sour mash, which reuses some of the old yeast from a previous batch. Now, some might argue this can create inconsistency across batches, but Bridgeland has found it works for them, and in my opinion is the beauty of small batch craft distilling. Each batch can bring something slightly new to the table. So look on the side of the label for what batch you have. And before I forget, ABV, proof. What is this all about? ABV, as you probably know, is a measurement of alcohol by volume. Proof is also a measurement of alcohol content. It's easily calculated as being twice the ABV. But the term proof is a holdover from the 16th century when bartenders used to pour alcohol on gunpowder. If the gunpowder still ignited after being soaked in alcohol, that was considered proof that the alcohol content was high enough and their whiskey was not watered down. Pretty cool. So to wrap it up here, this bottle of Taber Corn Berbon 101 is a fantastic and affordable bourbon style whiskey. It's got an amazing nose, which brings me right to Alberta. It's sweet, it's peppery, and it's got a really beautiful long dry finish. They ship across Canada, so check them out. I'll put a link below. At this price, this just might be your next favorite whiskey. I'm super excited to now have this bottle on my shelf, so Daniel, if you're watching this, thank you. I'd love to know if there are other Canadian bourbon style whiskeys out there. Let me know below. I'd love to pick up a bottle and give them a try. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.